with a child. You want the safety to become a pattern for life, and almost an unconscious thing, where you look down and say, oh, my seatbelt's on. That's what you want. It becomes so ingrained. I'm sure that's the case for you now. You've been wearing a seatbelt for a long time. I have too. That's exactly what you want. It's almost, it's like breathing.
Yes, I try getting out of the car sometime with it still on.
Yeah, right. It can
it's
happen.
Such a natural thing to have it. And there are more things here. I see that you have a carbon monoxide alarm.
Right. This is kind of a new issue out there, or relatively new issue out there. Carbon monoxide is a poison that can be found in the home. It is primarily, or it is produced by any combustible fuel in a home. A fireplace, a gas heater, a gas water heater, a gas dryer, an attached garage. Anything that burns some kind of combustible fuel, a byproduct of it is carbon monoxide. And what's interesting or dangerous about carbon monoxide is that it is, one, a poison, and it is very poisonous. And number two, you can't taste it, you can't smell it, you can't see it, you can't, it's not like smoke, where you can kind of get a hint, hey, something's not right in the house. Because it is called the silent killer, it's important to have a carbon monoxide detector in your home. This is a good one that you can buy at any store, you know, a Walmart or a Target or a hardware store. And you put them up in your home. And there's a couple different kinds. There's the battery-operated kind. There's also a plug-in kind that you can use, so you don't have to change the batteries. And it's very important to put these up in the home, because when there's carbon monoxide, and once it gets to a certain level, this will go off. Otherwise, you wouldn't know it. And you can call the fire department, get your gas appliances checked, get out of the home, and get things checked so you don't have yourself a very serious situation in your home. I mean, people have died because of this toxin.
Yes. Now, I have one of these, but I plug it in, and I don't think about it anymore. Now, if you were using batteries, how often would you recommend that they be checked for replacing?
Right. Very good question, because a carbon monoxide detector that's in the home that is not working is an ineffective carbon monoxide detector. And you really, it's good to check your carbon monoxide detector every month, and there's a little test button that you can do, and if it beeps, you know it's still fine. And then change the battery when you change your clock. So, you know, when you spring forward, which we just did, we just moved our clocks forward by an hour, you change the batteries in your carbon monoxide detector. And when you fall back in the fall, turn your clocks back an hour, another time to change your batteries. And that way you know you're always got a device. And then the detectors themselves last about 7 years. Some of them are a little bit longer. Follow the manufacturer's instructions, and then you recirculate, or you recycle and get another one, throw one out and get the new one. So about every 7 years. And they're not that expensive. These are about $20. And because the CO is so poisonous, it's really important. I have one in my home. Every level and outside sleeping areas is the important concept there. Now,
the smoke alarm. That's pretty widely known about the importance of a smoke alarm. And how do we determine the best upkeep for it?
Yeah, well, the carbon monoxide detector is a much more recent safety device. The smoke alarm has been around for a long time, although the technology is so much better now. And most homes do have a smoke alarm. However, to this day, many of them are not working because you don't change the battery. So the same concept you have for the carbon monoxide detector is just as important for the smoke alarm. And that is keep the upkeep, put them, install them properly. One of the interesting differences about a carbon monoxide detector and a smoke alarm is the carbon monoxide detector, you can activate it, put the batteries in it, set it on a shelf, plug it in. Doesn't really matter where, other than outside the sleeping area and on every level. The smoke alarm needs to be installed, you know, in an appropriate place on the ceiling because smoke rises, and that's where it's headed. So you want it to be able to detect the smoke as quick as possible to get yourself out of the home. And these are very, very important. There's, you know, about 113,000 serious injuries related to residential fires each year in children, and 480 deaths related to residential fires. Dare I say the vast majority of them could be prevented if you've got that smoke alarm. I would bet if you read the Dallas, what is it, the Dallas Morning News, anytime there's a death related to a residential fire, there's a pretty good chance
that the fire alarm wasn't working.
The fire, it wasn't in or it wasn't working. Because if it goes off, then you know to get out. Now, you're still going to have some property damage till the fire department gets there. But listen, it's a far cry, some property damage to the deaths, and in particular to children who have trouble getting out of homes when it's filled with smoke.
Now, what is this one?
This right here? This is pool safety. In fact, there was a piece of legislation which you voted for a couple years ago called the Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act, actually named after Secretary of State James Baker's granddaughter, who is a Houston resident. The Baker family is from Houston. And his granddaughter, unfortunately, died at the bottom of a spa, was entrapped on the drain. I know that story might be familiar to you. Well, Congress heard that story and others that have happened and said, enough's enough. And they passed a law named after his granddaughter, the Virginia Graham Baker Pool and Spa Safety Act, which does many things. But one of the things it does is it changes the way the bottom of pools and spas look and need to be maintained. This here is a dangerous drain cover. You can see it's kind of flat, and a child or even an adult's body can, you know, get on top of this and form a seal that has a suction or a hair entanglement or a evisceration, which is, you know, kind of difficult to talk about, but it has happened recently to a girl in Minnesota. She sat down on a drain and her insides, you know, were eviscerated out of her, and she died after a heroic battle. These are dangerous drain covers. Many, many pools in this country. The water. Yeah, it sucks the water in, you know, for filter and changeover. And if you get on top of it, it can be very dangerous. And, you know, children have died because of it. Really horrific. What the Act does, along with many other things, is, like I said, it changes the way pools, the bottom of pools and spas look. This is an anti-entrapment drain cover. And you can see it's engineered just a little bit differently. So you can't get that seal on it that you would with this one. So the VGB Act, as it's referred to, says that all public pools in this country, including those in Dallas, need to make changes to the way the bottom of their pools look.
So this one has replaced this one.
That's correct. Now, this is one example of one. There's other kinds, because there's different types of drains and drain covers out there. But this is a pretty common one that can be used for, you know, many public pools, but also residential pools. Now, the law doesn't address residential pools, but there's a lot of swimming pools in Dallas, Texas. I mean, I have flown into Dallas, and you look out the plane window, and it looks like there's a little blue patch behind every backyard. It's a good thing to do. Good thing to make these changes. You know.
Now, how long have they been out?
The law passed 2 years ago, and it became effective December 19th of 2008. So pools really need to be compliant now. They're catching up and making the changes, and we're hoping to see within the next few months and few years to have all these changes made. So that's kind of a hidden risk, kind of like